that they can come out on the problems which exist from the many years overnight. So we, being as a human, should accept this reality that we cannot even expect from the President Goodwill Jonathan to change everything in one night and over one night. Media of the Nigeria is growing up. I need the more proper ethics for the media, and I can even we can assist, our organization can assist to make the ethics rules for the media, and we will request to the government there should be an open media policy as well, because the freedom of expression should be adhered and properly maintained.
Well, you are based here in Nigeria, so you know some of the challenges the country is facing, especially as regards the ASU strike. University students have been at home for some months now, and really we haven't seen any solution so far. How can the International Human Rights Commission come in here, probably mediate and resolve the crisis?
Well, let me state again that education is a fundamental human right. And even in the Millennium Development Goal, we all discuss education every day. One of the people that were driving it for the UN Secretary General was from Nigeria. That means Nigeria is a stakeholder in the education sector worldwide. Keeping our students at home for 5 whole months, calls for an international attention. The International Human Rights Commission, I'm glad that my work chairman is here, and he has offered, and I know that it cannot take the International Human Rights Commission more than 2 days to end this strike.
Well, she has just said something now that by the time the International Human Rights Commission comes in, the crisis will be resolved in a matter of days. So what exactly can you do in this situation? How can this crisis be resolved?
According to the 2009 agreement between the government and academic staff, if the government will uphold that agreement, and whatever, even according to not agreement, but according to the government, whatever the government is providing the funding to the academic staff and the universities, they have to clear ask that what kind of how much they can provide us, and I will discuss with the lecturers and academic staff what is their demand, and I am assuring you that we can, International Human Rights Commission can organized and introduce the Nigeria National Literacy Fund, and that Nigeria National Literacy Fund will not ask the government of the federation and the states to pull out any single naira into it. We will be responsible from wherever whatever means we will collect that money. We will collect it and we will meet the demand of ASU. So at least next 10 or 15 years, there will be no strike and there will be no demand. And in the other light, the only request we will do it with the federation is that they should make the universities financially independent, so that the universities can generate the funds themselves as well, by the international students program, by the having an international agreements, and this will ease the burden of the government on education. So the government can spend that money, which will be they can save from that funding into that universities to the lower levels.
Well, let's talk about your visit to Nigeria. I mean, has it all been challenging? What has your experience been like here in Nigeria?
I have experienced the heritage and culture of Nigeria. I've been experiencing the wonderful peoples of Nigeria, with the wonderful hearts, with the wonderful minds, and determined, honest, sincere, and very well driven towards the cause and to build the Nigeria. I should mention here that my ambassador to Nigeria, Abdul Razak Hamza, is a very well educated and adequate person to represent the Nigeria into the International Human Rights Commission, and I'm thankful to him And I'm thankful to the peoples of Nigeria who forced me to come here after 1.5 years. And I will keep coming here because this visit has made me to instruct my Assistant Foreign Minister and the Ambassador to have an African office in Nigeria, not only for the Nigerian chapter, African Secretariat in Nigeria. And I am releasing the budget as soon as I will get it, the all proposal done within a week time. And when next time I will be coming, I will hope that I will meet you in the African Secretariat of the IHRC in Nigeria.
Well, finally, before I let you go on the program, can you tell me some of the challenges the International Human Rights Commission has been facing, not just here in Nigeria, but in other parts of the world?
We have just closed the chapter of a war in Middle East, and that was my proposal, and that was my and International Human Rights Commission and our all colleagues. I will not take the this claim as the Arab media has given me that it is our effort. No, it was an effort of everyone on board with us to stop the war in Syria and to go on the table of negotiation. We have seen, I personally driven in the last year toward Damascus 11 times. Well, we are working on it, and hopefully the Geneva conference, which is taking place on the 22, will be landmark for this, and we are very much hopeful. You know, on the cost of innocent children, on the cost of the innocent peoples died in Syria, we cannot compromise with the terrorism. Whether it is a state terrorism or whether it is the terrorism which has been planted by some countries over there and funded by some countries over there. I have very much clear opinion. Even on the Boko Haram in Nigeria, I have a very much clear message to the government of Nigeria and the all neighboring countries that we cannot allow a bunch of terrorism, a bunch of terrorists to make hostage the humanity. We are not going to compromise on it, but eventually, if they will prove it that they are human, we are ready to negotiate with them even.
All right,
thank you very much, ma'am, and it's my pleasure and honor to be with you.
Meanwhile, the Federal High Court in Abuja sentenced the Lebanese Ahmad Tala Roda to life imprisonment for conspiracy to import prohibited firearms into the country. The court, however, freed two other Lebanese businessmen, Mustafa Fawaz and Talal Tahini, who were also accused of terrorism, money laundering and conspiracy to import prohibited arms.
After 6 months of trial, the three Lebanese accused of terrorism, money laundering and illegal importation of firearms arrived at the Federal High Court in Abuja for verdict in their trial. His Lordship Justice Adeni Ademola, who divided the 16-count charges into 3 groups, ruled that the prosecution failed to prove beyond reasonable doubt that all the 3 accused persons were members of an international terrorist group, Hezbollah. He said for a group to qualify as a terrorist organization, it must be gazetted by the federal government in compliance with Section 9 of the Terrorism Prevention Act. He said the prosecution failed to provide any material evidence to indicate that Hezbollah has been gazetted by the federal government. He also ruled that the prosecution failed to prove that all the accused persons received training with intent to commit a terrorist act as members of Hezbollah. Justice Ademola therefore acquitted the 3 accused persons of charges 1 to 5 relating to membership of an international terrorist group. The judge also held that on count 6, the prosecution failed to prove that the said cache of arms found at number 3 Gaya Street in Kano belonged to any of the 3 accused persons. He ruled that the inability of the prosecution to provide material evidence makes the accusation baseless, as the court cannot rely on pictures and video CDs presented to the court as evidence. These evidence, he says, were not enough to prove that the weapons belonged to the accused persons.
From counts 1 to 6, all quashed, because Hezbollah military wing or any wing at all is not, as far as the court has found, just like you have submitted, is not known as a terrorist organization in Nigeria.
When a court finds that a case fails because government has not done certain things under the act, I think we should not go further than that to look for who to blame.